Okay, so this next one's sort of a bonus video for you, because what happened was when I was putting together this educated consumer checklist module, and we got to this next question, which is how do we respond when they say that AA is not for me? I went back through all the material in modules 1 through 3, and I realized that for the specific answer I want to present here, I never really go into it in enough detail throughout any of the material in modules 1 through 3. It has to do with what we call peer-based support, which is one of the 3 pillars of recovery that we've talked about, and we are going to talk about it a little bit when we read the PDF from Module 3 in our next unit, which is a little bit more focused on just what does it look like to work a 12-step recovery program. But the point that we want to make here is that the correct response to that is more focused on what are you doing to satisfy the elements of peer-based support. If they say AA is not for me, you can say, fine, that's great. What are you going to do to achieve the peer-based support part of your recovery plan? Because AA just happens to be one of many different types of programs that fall under the umbrella of peer-based support. So this video here is going to focus specifically on what are the elements that we're hoping to achieve through peer-based support. At the beginning of Rehab Works, I talked a little bit about the history of drug treatment and how the Minnesota model represented the shift that set the stage for what treatment looks like today. And a big part of this was that they started to incorporate 12-step recovery into treatment. And the 12-step program came about as a result of Alcoholics Anonymous, which was founded in 1935. And AA took off as far as being one of the first really effective approaches for overcoming addiction. And so they started using it in rehab. And today when they want to show a rehab scene in a movie or a TV show, it's usually a group of people sitting around in a circle. Somebody stands up and says, "I'm Jim, I'm an alcoholic." And everybody says, "Hi, Jim." That's basically a reference to the 12-step format. But treatment's obviously evolved over the years, and one of the things that we're always looking at is the need to provide more options to meet the individual needs of clients. So that would include what's offered in the way of peer-based support programs. So even though the 12-step model is still probably the most widely used method of social support, there are a lot of alternatives now for clients. So for example, one of the more common objections you'll hear from clients about 12-step recovery is that they don't like the spiritual aspect of it. In that case, there's peer-based programs that are non-spiritual, like Smart Recovery or Life Ring Secular Recovery. On the other hand, some clients might want a more religious emphasis for their recovery support, so they might try Celebrate Recovery or Refuge Recovery, which is a Buddhist-based approach. The point I want to stress here is that it's not about 12-step recovery being the be-all, end-all. What's important is that clients understand the principles of peer-based support and why that's such an important part of a recovery plan. If somebody says they don't like the 12-step program, I'll say, fine. If you can show me that you're working a proactive program that focuses on managing your condition, involves ongoing self-examination, and helps you build a sober support network, knock yourself out. But that's where you want to be careful and make sure that that's actually happening. If they're going to choose an alternative to 12-step recovery, one of the first things you want to check on is how much social engagement is there going to be. Are there enough meetings for them to go to so that they're actually getting out of the house and developing relationships with other people in recovery? You don't want to overlook the value of being around other people that are doing what you're supposed to be doing. One of the things about 12-step recovery is that it's really widely available. In most areas, you can find a meeting just about any day of the week at just about any time of the day. Where I live in the Dallas area, between AA and NA, there's literally hundreds of meetings a week. On the other hand, there's 13 Smart Recovery meetings a week, and most of these are just weekly meetings that are held at different locations. Again, there's something to be said for having a home group that you can spend a lot of time at and start to make some friends. That's how that social part really develops. So there's a fine line between giving clients options to make sure that they're getting their needs met and letting them use this as an excuse to just avoid the work. In my experience, a lot of the time you'll find that resistance to 12-step recovery isn't so much a principled objection to some specific part of the program, rather they just don't want to do anything. And when you hear people say AA doesn't work for me, the reality is most of the people who say that have never come close to using the program the way it's intended to be used. So they really have no idea whether it works or not. Going to a few meetings is nothing close to using the program the way it's supposed to be used.